First contact gone wrong. The night sky over Earth was unusually bright. A massive, glowing object hovered silently in orbit, visible even to amateur stargazers with basic telescopes. Social media exploded with speculation, from theories of an asteroid to claims of a government conspiracy. But deep inside a heavily secured military base, the truth was clear. It wasn't an asteroid. It wasn't human either. Major Sarah Davis stared at the screen showing live footage from the object. It was sleek, metallic, and unearthly. Its surface pulsed with an eerie blue light, like it was alive. "Is it communicating yet?" she asked. Dr. Ethan Carter, a leading astrophysicist, adjusted his glasses nervously. "Not exactly, but we intercepted something. A signal. It's not friendly." Sarah's stomach sank. She had trained for years for scenarios like this, but nothing could prepare her for the real thing. "Play it." The room fell silent as a chilling voice filled the air. It wasn't human, yet it spoke in perfect English. "Attention, inhabitants of Earth. We are the HFYians, rulers of the galaxy. Your existence is a threat to our dominance. Surrender your planet, or face annihilation." The voice ended abruptly, leaving the room heavy with dread. Sarah turned to the team. "Options. Negotiation is pointless," Ethan said firmly. "Their message is clear. They see us as an enemy." "Or prey," muttered Sergeant Cole, a battle-hardened soldier standing in the corner. Sarah nodded. "Prepare a response. We need to show them we won't go down without a fight." Meanwhile, aboard the HFY mothership, Admiral Krex watched Earth with cold disdain. To him, the humans were nothing more than an inconvenience. Their small blue planet was resource-rich but primitive. Krex had conquered countless worlds, and this one would be no different. "Admiral," a subordinate reported, "the humans are mobilizing. Their primitive satellites have detected us." Krex smirked. "Let them. Their weapons are toys compared to our technology. Begin deploying the drones. Let's end this quickly." On Earth, chaos spread like wildfire. News channels broadcasted blurry images of the alien ship, and people panicked. Some prayed, others rioted, and many simply stared at the sky in fear. Governments around the world scrambled to coordinate a response, but secrecy was crumbling fast. In a hidden underground lab, Dr. Carter worked frantically. He had intercepted fragments of the HFY signal, and something about it nagged at him. There was a pattern, a weakness. "Come on," he muttered, his fingers flying over the keyboard. "Show me what you're hiding." Finally, the answer appeared. Carter's eyes widened. The HFY ship wasn't invincible. Its energy shields had a blind spot, but exploiting it would require precision and bravery. He grabbed his notes and rushed to Sarah's office. "Major," he panted, "I found something. Their shields aren't perfect. We can hit them if we strike here." He pointed to a diagram of the ship. Sarah studied it carefully. "This could work, but we'll need someone crazy enough to fly close enough for the shot." "I know someone," Cole said with a grim smile. Call sign: Phantom. As humanity prepared its defenses, the first wave of HFY drones descended. Sleek, black machines, each equipped with devastating plasma weapons, sliced through the atmosphere like falling stars. Cities trembled under their shadows. But humanity wasn't defenseless. Anti-aircraft systems roared to life, and brave pilots took to the skies. Phantom, a legendary but mysterious pilot, led the charge in a highly modified fighter jet. No one knew his real name, but his skill was unmatched. "Phantom, we need to hold them back until the main fleet is ready." Sarah's voice crackled through his headset. "Copy that," Phantom replied calmly. His jet danced through the swarm of alien drones, outmaneuvering and outgunning them with shocking precision. He wasn't just skilled, he was unpredictable, and the HFYians couldn't adapt. Admiral Krex watched the battle unfold with growing frustration. "What is this madness?" he growled. "One human pilot is disrupting our entire formation." "Admiral, their tactics are unconventional. A subordinate stammered. "They're exploiting weaknesses we didn't anticipate." Krex slammed his fist on the console. "Send reinforcements. Crush them." Back on Earth, Sarah received an urgent message from Carter. "Major, the Exivarians are escalating. We need to act now." Sarah nodded. "Phantom, you're clear to execute the plan. Target their blind spot." "Understood," Phantom replied. He climbed higher into the atmosphere, aiming directly for the Exivarian mothership. Drones swarmed around him, but he weaved through them effortlessly. As he approached the alien ship, the massive vessel loomed like a floating fortress. Phantom locked onto the weak spot Carter had identified and fired a precision missile. The explosion rocked the mothership, and its shields flickered. "We did it," Carter cheered in the command center. But his celebration was short-lived. The Exivarian mothership began charging a massive weapon aimed directly at Earth. Sarah's voice rang out over the comms. "Phantom, get out of there." But Phantom had other plans. "Not yet," he said. With a daring maneuver, he flew directly into the heart of the mothership's weapons array, delivering a final payload. The resulting explosion sent shockwaves through the sky, and the mothership faltered. On board, Krex snarled, "This isn't over." As the smoke cleared, the Exivarian drones retreated, and the mothership limped back into orbit. Earth had survived, for now, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," she said quietly. "And so will we," Carter replied. "Next time, they won't underestimate us." High above, Phantom's jet disappeared into the clouds, a lone figure who had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of. The fight was far from over, but humanity had sent a clear message: never underestimate humans. Humans strike back. The Exivarian mothership drifted in orbit. Its shields weakened and its pride shattered. Inside the command deck, Admiral Krex paced like a caged predator. This was not how invasions went. He had crushed dozens of civilizations, yet these humans, these primitive creatures, had not only resisted but also struck a blow that forced his fleet into retreat. "Admiral, we're receiving reinforcements in 12 galactic hours," an officer reported. 12 hours? Krex growled. "Unacceptable. Prepare the secondary fleet. We will crush their defenses before they regroup." Back on Earth, humanity wasted no time. The battle had revealed more than just the Exivarian weaknesses. It had exposed humanity's potential. In a top-secret hangar, engineers and scientists worked day and night. They had recovered fragments of alien technology from the battlefield, and Dr. Ethan Carter was leading the charge to reverse engineer it. "This isn't just tech," Carter told Major Sarah Davis as he held up a glowing shard of alien metal. "It's a language, a blueprint. If we can crack it, we can weaponize it." Sarah nodded. "Make it happen. We've bought ourselves time, but not much." The Exivarian retaliation began at dawn. This time, they deployed ground forces, towering, insect-like mechs that strode across the countryside, leaving destruction in their wake. Civilians fled in terror as the machines unleashed plasma blasts, leveling everything in their path. Sarah stood on the front lines, her boots sinking into the muddy earth. "Hold the line," she shouted into her comms. "Reinforcements are inbound." Phantom, the mysterious pilot who had become a legend overnight, wasn't in the air this time. Instead, he was in the field, leading a group of rogue operatives equipped with experimental weapons scavenged from alien drones. "These toys better work, Carter," Phantom muttered as he hefted a plasma rifle that hummed with energy. "They will," Carter's voice crackled over the comms. "Just aim for the joints on the mechs. That's where their armor is weakest." As the Exivarian mechs advanced, Earth's defenders unleashed their counterattack. Artillery shells exploded around the alien machines, and jets streaked through the sky, firing missiles. But it was Phantom and his squad who made the biggest impact. "Target locked," Phantom said calmly, firing the plasma rifle. A concentrated beam of energy struck the joint of a mech's leg, causing it to collapse. The massive machine toppled like a felled tree, crushing several drones beneath it. Sarah watched the battle unfold from a command bunker. "He's not just a pilot," she murmured. "He's a force of nature." The Exovarians, for all their arrogance, began to realize they were up against more than just a primitive species. Humans didn't follow predictable patterns. They didn't rely solely on brute force. They adapted, they improvised, and most importantly, they fought like they had nothing to lose. "Admiral, our ground forces are taking significant losses," an officer reported. Krex slammed his claws onto the console. How? How are they doing this?" "They're unpredictable," the officer admitted. "Their tactics don't align with any of our projections." Krex snarled. "Then let's show them why we are feared across the galaxy. Deploy the annihilator." Back on Earth, Phantom's squad celebrated their small victory as another mech fell. But their joy was short-lived. A shadow passed over the battlefield. A massive Xivarian war machine, 10 times the size of the mechs, descending from the sky. "What is that?" one soldier whispered. Phantom didn't hesitate. "Fall back." Now, the annihilator landed with a thunderous crash, its spiked legs sinking into the ground. Its central cannon began charging, emitting a deep hum that sent vibrations through the earth. Sarah's voice came through the comms. "Phantom, you need to retreat. That thing is designed to wipe out entire cities." Phantom clenched his jaw. "We can't just leave it here." "You don't have a choice," Sarah snapped. "Carter's team is working on something that can take it out. You need to buy us time." In the lab, Carter's team was racing against the clock. Using the alien shard, they had constructed a prototype, a concentrated energy weapon capable of piercing even the Annihilator's armor. But it wasn't ready yet. Come on, Carter muttered, his hands trembling as he connected the final components. On the battlefield, the Annihilator unleashed its first attack. A beam of pure energy swept across the horizon, obliterating everything in its path. Phantom and his squad barely managed to dive into a trench as the ground behind them turned to the molten glass. "Major, we're out of options," Phantom said into his comms. "Hold your position," Sarah replied. "Carter's sending the prototype now." A rumble filled the air as a military transport drone flew overhead, dropping a large crate near Phantom's position. He pried it open to reveal the new weapon, a sleek, cannon-like device that pulsed with blue energy. "Time to see if Carter knows what he's doing," Phantom said, lifting the weapon onto his shoulder. As the Annihilator charged for another attack, Phantom took aim. The weapon hummed louder as it locked onto the massive war machine. He steadied his breath and pulled the trigger. A beam of concentrated energy shot out, striking the Annihilator dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the war machine shuddered violently before erupting in a massive explosion that lit up the sky. Cheers erupted across the battlefield. For the first time, the tide had turned, but Phantom didn't celebrate. He stared at the smoldering wreckage and muttered, "This isn't over." In orbit, Krex watched in stunned silence as his Annihilator was destroyed. His claws tightened into fists. "Prepare the main fleet," he growled. "If they want war, we'll give them war." Back on Earth, Sarah received an encrypted message from Carter. "Major, I've uncovered something. The Exovarians aren't just attacking us. They're afraid of us. There's something about humanity they don't want us to discover." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Then let's make them regret ever coming here." Secrets of humanity's past. The battlefield was quiet now, littered with the smoldering wreckage of Exigarian machines. But the silence wasn't comforting. Major Sarah Davis stood on a ridge overlooking the destruction, her mind racing. The victory against the Annihilator felt hollow. The Exivarians would return, stronger and angrier. They always did. Her comms crackled, pulling her from her thoughts. "Major, you're going to want to see this." Dr. Ethan Carter's voice came through, laced with urgency. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Carter had made a discovery that could change everything. For years, rumors had circulated about ancient anomalies buried in the frozen continent, unusual structures that didn't match human history. Now, with alien technology in hand, Carter believed he had found the key. Sarah arrived at the site in a military transport. The icy winds bit at her skin as she stepped into a cavernous excavation. Towering before her was a monolithic structure, its surface etched with glowing symbols that pulsed faintly. It was unmistakably alien, but there was something eerily familiar about it. "This is what we've been digging up?" Sarah asked, her voice hushed. Carter nodded. "We've dated it to over 100,000 years old. And it's not just a structure, it's a machine." Sarah frowned. "A machine for what?" Carter hesitated. "That's the thing. The language on it matches parts of the HFY code we intercepted. But there's more. Look at this." He pointed to a holographic display showing detailed scans of the structure. "There's a signal buried deep inside, something dormant. The HFYians weren't just here to conquer Earth. They were looking for this." In orbit, aboard the HFY mothership, Admiral Krex stood before a holographic display of Earth's surface. A red marker blinked over Antarctica. "They found it," he said, his voice cold. "Deploy a strike force immediately. We cannot let them access the relic." One of his officers hesitated. "Admiral, if they activate it." "I know," Krex snapped. "But if humans unlock its power, they'll become unstoppable. We'll destroy the entire planet if we have to." At the excavation site, tensions were rising. Carter worked furiously to decode the symbols, while soldiers fortified the area. Phantom, now a reluctant celebrity among Earth's defenders, stood guard with his plasma rifle. "What's so special about this thing?" Phantom asked, watching Carter struggle with the alien language. "It's more than special," Carter said without looking up. "This machine is old, older than the HFYians themselves. Whatever it does, they're terrified of it. That tells me it's important." Before Phantom could reply, the ground shook violently. Lights flickered as an explosion echoed through the cavern. Alarms blared. "They're here," a soldier shouted. The HFYians attacked with precision. Sleek, insect-like drones swarmed into the cavern, their plasma weapons lighting up the icy walls. Sarah barked orders, rallying her troops as chaos erupted. "Phantom, keep them away from Carter," she shouted. "On it," Phantom replied, diving into action. His rifle hummed as he took down one drone after another, his movements impossibly quick and deliberate. Yet, for every drone he destroyed, more poured in. Carter's voice cut through the chaos. "Major, I've almost got it. I just need more time." "You don't have time," Sarah snapped, firing her weapon at an advancing drone. But then something happened. The symbols on the monolith began glowing brighter, their patterns shifting. The ground beneath them rumbled, and a deep, resonant hum filled the air. "What did you do?" Sarah demanded, turning to Carter. "I didn't do anything," he said, eyes wide. "It's responding to something. On its own." The monolith pulsed with energy, sending out a wave that knocked everyone to the ground. The HFY drones froze mid-attack, their systems fried by the surge. For a moment, silence returned. Then a voice spoke, not from the comms, but from the monolith itself. It was calm, resonant, and unmistakably human. "Defenders of Earth," the voice said, "you have awakened the legacy of your ancestors. We are the architects, the first children of this galaxy, and now you must carry our burden." Sarah stared at the monolith, stunned. What is this?" Carter looked equally baffled. "It's a message. But it's not just a message. It's data, a map, instructions, maybe even a weapon." Before they could process further, Phantom's voice broke in. We've got a problem." Sarah turned to see a new wave of HFY forces approaching, larger, more dangerous machines, designed for destruction. "We can't hold them off this time," Phantom said grimly. Carter stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "We don't have to. I think I can activate the monolith fully. But if I do, I have no idea what will happen." Sarah's jaw tightened. She glanced at Phantom, who gave her a slight nod. "Do it." As Carter worked furiously, the Exovarians closed in. Sarah and Phantom fought side by side, buying him precious seconds. The air crackled with energy as the monolith's glow intensified. Just as the Exovarians reached the inner circle of defenders, the monolith released another pulse, this one far stronger. It expanded outward, enveloping everything in light. When the light faded, the Exovarians were gone. Their machines had vanished, leaving only silence in their wake. "What just happened?" Sarah asked, breathing hard. Carter looked at the monolith, which now stood dark and still. "I don't know. But whatever it did, it wasn't just defense. It sent a signal, a massive signal." "To who?" Phantom asked. Carter hesitated, then said, "To the galaxy. And if the Exivarians were afraid of this, I can't imagine what's coming next." Far above Earth, in the depths of space, an ancient ship stirred, its dormant systems coming to life. The architects had been awakened, and they were watching. The galactic reaction. The signal from the Antarctic monolith echoed across the cosmos like a thunderclap in a silent room. Stars, planets, and civilizations heard its call. Some ignored it, deeming it a relic of forgotten times. Others listened closely, their curiosity mingling with fear. But for one ancient power, slumbering in the shadowy edges of the galaxy, it was an alarm, a long-awaited cry that shattered millennia of silence. On Earth, the calm after the monolith's activation was short-lived. Major Sarah Davis stood in a dimly lit war room. Her team of leaders, scientists, and soldiers assembled around a holographic map of Earth's orbit. "What exactly did we wake up?" Sarah asked, her voice carrying the weight of their recent battles. Dr. Ethan Carter, weary but unyielding, stood at the edge of the table. The monolith sent a signal, a beacon, but it wasn't just a call for help. It transmitted data, something ancient and vast. The Exivarians weren't here to conquer Earth. They were here to stop this. Phantom, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, spoke up. "If it's as bad as you're making it sound, we're not ready for what's coming." "No," Carter admitted. "We're not. But we don't have a choice." Far from Earth, in the vast galactic core, the Council of the Zerakian Dominion convened. The Zerakians were an ancient species of crystalline entities, their minds linked through a vast neural network. When the monolith's signal reached them, they responded immediately. "The humans have awakened the architects," one Zerakian intoned, its voice resonating like a choir. Another shard of the council glowed brighter. "The Exovarians have failed. We must act before the architects return." "But the humans," a third shard said, its tone contemplative, "may yet prove useful. They have already defied the Exovarians. Perhaps they are the key." The council deliberated for what felt like eons to them, but was mere moments for mortal beings. Finally, a decision was reached. On Earth, chaos erupted as dozens of alien ships entered orbit. At first, humanity braced for another invasion, but the ships did not attack. Instead, they hovered silently, their strange forms casting ominous shadows over cities and landscapes. "What are they waiting for?" Sarah asked, watching the footage on a monitor. "They're not here to attack," Carter said, his voice uneasy. "They're here to negotiate." A message came through, broadcasted globally. A shimmering figure appeared, neither human nor Exivarian. Its appearance was amorphous, a mix of light and shadow constantly shifting. "We are the Zerakians," the figure said, its voice layered and echoing. "Your actions have awakened the architects. You have disrupted the balance of the galaxy, but you may also hold its salvation." Sarah and her team exchanged uneasy glances. "What do you want?" she asked. "The Exivarians are not your greatest enemy," the Zerakian said. "The architects built the galaxy's first civilizations. They created wonders and horrors beyond comprehension. And now, they will return. You must prove yourselves worthy, or be destroyed. As the Zerakians hovered in orbit, the HFY struck again. Smaller, stealthier ships infiltrated Earth's atmosphere, targeting key locations, including the Antarctic monolith site. Their goal was clear: destroy the monolith and prevent humanity from accessing its full power. Phantom was the first to respond, leading a squadron of experimental fighters against the intruders. His voice crackled over the comms. Looks like the HFY aren't taking their loss lightly. Sarah's orders came sharp and clear. Protect that site at all costs. If they destroy the monolith, it's game over. The battle was brutal. The HFY had adapted to human tactics, deploying advanced drones and cloaked fighters. But humanity wasn't the same as it had been during the first encounter. With reverse-engineered alien tech and an unyielding will, they pushed back. Phantom, weaving through enemy fire, delivered the final blow to the HFY flagship. As it exploded in a brilliant burst of light, he muttered, "That's one less problem." Back at the Antarctic site, Carter and his team had made progress. The monolith, now fully active, revealed its secrets: a map of ancient galactic installations, each one linked to humanity's past. "This isn't just a machine," Carter said, awestruck. "It's a key. The architects didn't just create the galaxy. They seeded it. They planted something within us." Sarah frowned. "What does that mean?" Carter hesitated. "It means humanity might not be as ordinary as we thought." Above Earth, tensions escalated as a HFY fleet appeared on the horizon. Their arrival sent shockwaves through the Zerakian delegation. For the first time in millennia, the ancient crystalline beings hesitated. The HFY would risk open war to stop this, one Zerakian said. "The humans must be more dangerous than we realized." "Or more valuable," another replied. In the midst of this, a rogue HFY defector made contact with Earth. A scared and battle-worn soldier, the defector called himself Vale. His arrival caused immediate suspicion, but his knowledge was too valuable to ignore. "You don't understand what you've done," Vale said, addressing Sarah and Carter directly. "The architects are not saviors. They are conquerors. They built the galaxy, yes, but they destroyed it too. And they will destroy you if you don't stop them." Carter leaned forward. "Then why are you here? Why betray your own people?" Val's alien eyes narrowed. "Because the HFY don't just fear the architects. They fear you. Humanity is different. You were never supposed to awaken the monolith. And now, you are the only ones who can stop what's coming." As the Zerakians, HFY, and humans prepared for what seemed to be an inevitable confrontation, the monolith pulsed one final time, sending out a new signal. Far beyond the edge of the galaxy, a colossal ship stirred, its surface bristling with ancient weapons. The architects were awake, and they were coming. Humanity had no choice but to unite with its uneasy allies and prepare for a battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Humanity unleashed. The galaxy braced itself. The signal from the monolith had done more than awaken the architects. It had united enemies, ignited ancient fears, and placed Earth at the center of a cosmic storm. But for humanity, the stakes were simpler: survival. On board the HFY mothership, Admiral Krex seethed. His fleet hovered in Earth's orbit, battered but not broken. The Zerakians, still orbiting nearby, had adopted a peculiar neutrality. They watched and waited, their crystalline minds calculating probabilities. Krex, however, was not one for waiting. "Prepare the subjugation cannons," he ordered. "If the humans will not surrender the monolith, we will obliterate it, and them." His command was interrupted by a holographic transmission. Major Sarah Davis appeared, flanked by the rogue HFY Vale and Dr. Ethan Carter. "Admiral Krex," Sarah said coolly, "you've already lost this fight once. Do you really want to repeat?" Krex snarled. "You underestimate us, human. Your planet's death is inevitable. Funny, Sarah replied, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. We were about to say the same thing to you. In a hidden orbital facility, Earth's engineers and scientists worked at breakneck speed. Using fragments of Xaverian and Zerakian technology, they had created a weapon unlike any other, the Catalyst Array. It was an experimental railgun system capable of firing projectiles at near-light speed, powerful enough to tear through even the largest alien ships. The catalyst is operational, Carter announced, his voice steady despite the pressure. But we only get one shot. If we miss, we're done. Phantom, now Earth's unofficial symbol of resistance, stood nearby, his trademark calm unshaken. We won't miss. The Xaverians struck first. A wave of their most advanced drones descended on Earth, targeting critical military installations. Phantom led the counterattack, flying a heavily modified fighter equipped with alien tech. His ship was faster, deadlier, and far more unpredictable than anything the Xaverians had faced. Hold the line, Sarah's voice crackled over the comms. We just need a few more minutes. In space, the Catalyst Array was charging, its magnetic rails glowing with an eerie blue light. The Zerakians observed from their crystalline ships, their neural network buzzing with data. They are reckless, one shard remarked. They are brilliant, another countered. This is not how the galaxy fights. On the ground, Sarah and Vale coordinated the defense of the Antarctic site. The monolith was the Xaverians' primary target, and they were throwing everything they had at it. Earth's forces, bolstered by reverse-engineered alien tech, held their ground, but barely. Vale fired his plasma weapon with precision, his alien physiology allowing him to fight with a cold efficiency that unnerved the human soldiers. They won't stop until the monolith is destroyed, he said grimly. Sarah reloaded her rifle, sweat streaking her face. Then we won't let them. The Catalyst Array was ready. Phantom, now far above Earth, provided targeting data from his fighter. Phantom, you're clear to designate the target, Carter said. Phantom's eyes scanned the chaos below, locking onto the Xaverian mothership. It loomed over Earth, its weapons charging. Target acquired, he said calmly. The railgun fired. The projectile streaked through space, a glowing spear of energy and metal. It struck the Xaverian mothership with devastating force, piercing its core. For a moment, the ship seemed to freeze, its lights flickering. Then, with a deafening roar, it exploded in a brilliant cascade of fire and debris. Cheers erupted across Earth's defenses, but the celebration was short-lived. The monolith pulsed again, brighter than before. Carter's voice came through the comms, panicked. The monolith's doing something. Something big. A hologram projected from the monolith, this time showing a massive fleet emerging from deep space. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Vast, angular constructs that shimmered as if made of starlight. They dwarfed even the largest Xaverian vessels. The architects, Vale whispered, his usually steady voice shaking. They're here. The architects' fleet didn't attack immediately. Instead, a single ship descended toward Earth, hovering over the Antarctic site. From its underside, a figure emerged, descending slowly on a beam of light. It was humanoid, but impossibly tall and glowing with an ethereal light. Its eyes, or what passed for them, seemed to pierce through everyone present. The being spoke, its voice resonating in every mind on the planet. We are the architects. You have awakened the seed we planted long ago. Humanity, you stand at a crossroads. What do you want? Sarah demanded, stepping forward despite the obvious danger. To see if you are worthy, the architect replied. You have defied the Xaverians, united the Zerakians, and wielded the tools of the past. But can you face the future? At that moment, the Zerakians, who had been silent observers, descended into Earth's atmosphere. Their crystalline ships formed a protective ring around the monolith. One of their shards projected a hologram beside Sarah. The architects are not gods, the Zerakian said. They are flawed. And they will test you, not for your worthiness, but for their own ends. You must stand firm. The stage was set. Humanity, joined by rogue exovarians and cautious Zorakians, faced an enemy that had shaped the galaxy itself. As the Architect's fleet moved into formation, the monolith pulsed one final time, its energy rippling through Earth and into space. What did it do? Sarah asked, turning to Carter. Carter's face was pale. It sent another signal, not a call for help this time. What then? Phantom asked. Carter hesitated, then said, a challenge. The Architects, seemingly amused by humanity's audacity, unleashed their first attack. Their ships moved with impossible precision, their weapons bending the laws of physics. Earth's defenses, bolstered by alien technology, fired back with everything they had. Phantom, leading the charge, pushed his fighter to its limits. We're not going down without a fight, he growled, weaving through beams of destructive energy. On the ground, Sarah, Vale, and the Zorakians prepared for the final stand. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the galaxy, hung in the balance. Humanity had unleashed its full potential, but against the Architects, even that might not be enough. The final stand. The Architect fleet moved like a tidal wave through the void of space. Each ship shimmered with an otherworldly light, as if made of living starlight, their angular designs defying human logic. On board Earth's orbital command station, Major Sarah Davis stood with her team, watching in tense silence as the largest of the Architect ships took position. They're not wasting time. Phantom's voice crackled over the comms. It was already in his fighter, weaving through Earth's defensive lines. No, Sarah muttered, and neither can we. Carter, what's the status of the monolith? Dr. Ethan Carter, stationed at the Antarctic site, adjusted his glasses and typed furiously into his console. The monolith is responding. It's downloading something, a data set, maybe a blueprint. I don't fully understand it, but it's massive. Massive isn't good enough. Sarah snapped. We need a weapon. It might be more than a weapon, Carter said, his voice tinged with awe. This could be the key to understanding the Architects themselves. As the Architect ships descended, their presence triggered chaos across the globe. Earth's skies were lit with plasma fire as Architect drones, sleek, impossibly fast constructs, descended in swarms. The Zorakian fleet formed a protective barrier around the planet, their crystalline ships refracting incoming fire into dazzling, harmless light shows. But even the ancient Zorakians struggled to hold their ground. Humanity is reckless, one Zorakian shard remarked as its ship narrowly avoided destruction. Reckless, another shard replied, but resourceful. Phantom led a squadron of human fighters, his modified craft dancing like a ghost among the stars. He wasn't just fighting, he was learning, adapting to the Architect's patterns. But for every drone he destroyed, two more appeared. His comms buzzed with frantic voices, pilots calling for backup, screaming warnings, and too often falling silent. Stay focused, he barked, his voice steady. We're the last line between them and the planet. Let's make it count. On the ground, Sarah and Vale prepared for the inevitable. Architect drones had breached the atmosphere and were swarming toward the monolith. Earth's forces, bolstered by Zorakian weaponry, fought valiantly but were quickly overwhelmed. We're not going to hold them, Vale said grimly, firing his plasma weapon with surgical precision. Sarah glanced at the monolith, its surface now glowing with a shifting, intricate pattern. Carter, whatever that thing is doing, it needs to do it faster. I'm working as fast as I can. Carter snapped, his voice laced with frustration. But this isn't just alien tech, it's a puzzle. If I make one mistake, it could destroy us all. Above Earth, the battle reached its climax. The catalyst array, Earth's last and most powerful weapon, fired again, its projectile streaking toward the largest Architect ship. The energy bolt struck the ship's shimmering surface and dissipated harmlessly. It didn't even scratch them, one of the operators whispered. Sarah clenched her fists. Then we find another way. As the architects pressed their advantage, an unexpected event occurred. The monolith pulsed, sending a wave of energy across the battlefield. For a brief moment, every architect's ship froze, their movements halting like statues in the void. "What just happened?" Phantom demanded, his voice cutting through the comms. "It's the monolith," Carter said. "It's not just a weapon. It's a communication device. It's talking to them." The architect fleet began to move again, but differently. Their formation shifted, almost hesitantly, as if they were deliberating. In orbit, a massive architect figure appeared, projected from the lead ship. Its form was humanoid yet ethereal, composed of light and shadow, its face a blank canvas of shifting patterns. It spoke in a voice that resonated across all frequencies, echoing in the minds of every living being. "Humanity," it intoned, "you have awakened a relic of the past. This monolith contains knowledge and power beyond your comprehension. Yet you wield it recklessly, like a child playing with fire." Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady. "If we're children, then teach us. Show us why you're here. Because all we've seen so far is destruction." The architect tilted its head, as if considering her words. "Your defiance is admirable. But defiance alone is not enough." In that moment, Carter's console lit up with an alert. "The monolith has finished its sequence," he shouted. "It's unlocking something." The monolith released a final pulse of energy, and the battlefield was flooded with light. When the light faded, the Earth's defenders were stunned to see a massive structure rising from the Antarctic ice, a sleek obsidian tower that dwarfed the monolith. Its surface shimmered with the same intricate patterns, and its presence radiated power. "What is that?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "The architect's test," Vale said grimly. "And their gift." The obsidian tower began emitting its own signal, sending waves of energy that disrupted the architect fleet. Their ships faltered, their drones collapsing mid-flight. But the largest ship, the one that had resisted even the catalyst array, remained unaffected. "They're adapting," Carter warned. "We need to use the tower now, or it'll be too late." "How?" Sarah demanded. The answer came from the architect projection. "Step inside," it said, its voice softer now, almost reverent. "Only one of you may enter. Prove your worth, and humanity may yet survive." Phantom, still in his fighter, broke in over the comms. "Sarah, it's got to be you. You're the leader. You've been the one holding us together." "No," Vale interrupted. "This is not a task for a leader. It is for a warrior." Sarah looked between them, her mind racing. "This isn't just about leadership or combat," she said finally. "It's about understanding who we are, and who we can become." Without waiting for another argument, she turned and walked toward the tower. The architect projection watched her silently, its glowing form flickering as if it approved. As Sarah stepped inside the obsidian structure, the door sealed behind her. The room filled with light, and a voice, ancient and resonant, spoke directly to her. "Welcome, human. Let us see if your species is worthy of carrying the flame." Outside, the battle raged on. The fate of humanity and the galaxy now rested in her hands. Humanity's triumph. Inside the obsidian tower, Major Sarah Davis floated in a void of light. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with ancient energy, displaying fragmented images of humanity's history. Battles, triumphs, and failures played out like a symphony of struggle. "Who are you?" Sarah asked, her voice echoing in the infinite space. A figure appeared, humanoid but abstract, its form shifting between glowing lines and shadowy voids. "We are the architects," it said. "We seeded the galaxy, created civilizations, and watched them rise and fall. You, humanity, are our final experiment." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Experiment. You've watched us suffer, fight, and die, all as part of some cosmic test." The architect's voice softened. "Not a test. A a legacy. Each species we created fell into chaos or complacency. You are different. You defy the odds. You create from destruction. But now, you must prove you can bear the burden of what we offer. The space around Sarah shifted, and she found herself standing on Earth. But it wasn't her Earth. Cities floated in the sky, gleaming with unimaginable technology. Yet the world was desolate, its people gone. A ruined statue stood in the distance, its face eerily human. "This is what happens when power is given without wisdom," the architect said. "Will you avoid this fate?" Outside the tower, the battle intensified. The architect fleet unleashed its full might, targeting Earth and its defenders with precision. The Zerakians fought valiantly, their crystalline ships refracting energy beams into harmless light. Phantom led Earth's forces, pushing his fighter to its limits. "This is getting ugly," Phantom growled over the comms. "We can't keep holding them off." At the Antarctic site, Dr. Ethan Carter and Vale stood near the monolith, monitoring its energy readings. Carter's fingers flew across his console. "The tower is building to something, a release of energy unlike anything we've seen." Vale tightened his grip on his plasma weapon. "Let's hope Sarah is ready. We won't survive much longer." Inside the tower, Sarah faced her final challenge. The architect figure gestured, and a new vision appeared. She was aboard a starship, facing a council of alien leaders, each one representing a different galactic power. Their voices overlapped, accusing, debating, demanding. "This is the burden of leadership," the architect said. "To unite, you must first confront. Can humanity lead not through conquest, but through understanding?" Sarah felt the weight of the moment. "We've spent our existence fighting each other, yet we found ways to come together when it matters. We can do it again, this time for the galaxy." The architect paused, as if considering her words. "Then show us." The tower began to glow brighter, visible across the battlefield. Energy surged into the sky, forming a massive sphere of light above the Antarctic. Architect drones faltered, their attacks disrupted by the pulse. "What's happening?" Phantom shouted, narrowly avoiding a collision with a crashing drone. Carter's voice came through the comms. "It's Sarah. She's done something. She's taking control." The largest architect ship descended toward the tower, its weapons charging. On the ground, Vale and the remaining soldiers prepared for a desperate stand. But before the ship could fire, the light from the tower expanded, enveloping the battlefield. From within the light, Sarah's voice echoed, amplified by the architect technology. "Stand down." The architect fleet froze. Their ships dimmed, their weapons retracting. The towering humanoid figure from the lead ship reappeared, this time on its knees. "You have passed," it said, its voice filled with something that almost sounded like reverence. "Humanity is worthy." As the light faded, Sarah emerged from the tower, her face pale but determined. She carried a small glowing device, a shard of the architect's power. "This isn't just a weapon," she said to Vale and Carter. "It's knowledge. A chance to rebuild, not destroy." Above, the architect fleet began to retreat. The Zerakians watched silently, their ships shimmering as they absorbed the outcome. One of their crystalline leaders transmitted a message to Earth. "You have done what no species has before. The galaxy will not ignore this. Be ready." In the aftermath, Earth began to rebuild. The battle had cost millions of lives, but humanity had survived. More importantly, they had earned a place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as leaders. Phantom, now a celebrated hero, walked through the rebuilt Antarctic site with Sarah. "So, what now?" he asked. Sarah glanced at the glowing shard in her hand. "Now we learn. We share, and we make sure we never become what the architects feared." Far across the galaxy, in the shadowy depths of uncharted space, something stirred. The signal from Earth had reached beyond the architects, beyond even the Zerakians. A new force, ancient and forgotten, began to awaken. For humanity, the battle was over, But the war for the galaxy's future had only just begun.